Hey, what is up, guys? It is Rapmark here. Here doing my episode 4 review for Miss Marvel. And I want to put in a correction. I believe the last review I did, this was a 5-part series. No, it is a 6-part. So we have 2 episodes uh, to sort of course correct at this point. Because at 4, I'm kind of just. This is definitely going in the perception of it. It's not for me. There is that and that being said, try to be with some positivity, of course. There is a lot of stuff that I enjoyed about this episode. Um, I enjoyed the culture. I enjoyed the history and her family. Even though but the problem is that this is such a short story, and now you are essentially dragging um, dragging me out of something that I was already getting invested in. Because for the most part, like, we have a whole new cast at this point. Her um, Bruno's gone. Her father's gone, and just like so much of what was starting to get me, attached and involved in this show is now kind of been dragged out, and now we're in Pakistan, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, it is super cool. I do love her essentially reconnecting with her culture, which is a lot of what this episode is about. But it just seemed a bit much. And then, of course, you end, and now you're in a different time, and you're just like, all right, what happens now? And that's sort of where we end. Um, and then you have the crazy chase sequence, which, I'll get into specifics later. I don't know. There were a lot of inconsistencies with it. Um, I Again, they introduced a new fact like the red daggers. They introduced the red daggers, and aside from the leader, who is it? Waleed. Uh, like, I liked him, and they ended up killing him off because he was interesting. Essentially, provide a lot of exposition. Uh, but again, going in this, she gets attacked at a train station, and it again goes into this other love interest like story. We have 3 love interests in 4 episodes, and I'm just like, I'm sure there's an audience for this. I'm sure there are people who enjoy that stuff. It hasn't been me for a long time. Like, this is, and I get this is made for teenagers, but I mean, this is also like Marvel, and you are getting into like deep CW like teenage shit, and I'm not for it. It's not something that I am interested in or think is very well. I don't even think it's very well done. I think it's just like, all right. And I'm just not a super big fan. So it is. Who is this new love interest? Kareem. And then you have the worst part of this entire series, which I've always hated, and that's the Department of Damage Control. So it blows my mind. So that whole scene, it's one long hallway. They're just in handcuffs going along a pipe. Um, and it's just two guards. You're dealing with interdimensional beings, who have, you know, like superpowers. They're, essentially good fighters, whatever. And yes, of course they escape. And then, but it's, and again, there's no cameras, there's no alarms. And keep in mind, it establishes that this is a super max prison for the Department of Damage Control. And they're just going through a shitty hallway, and they escape through just a random door, stairs. Again, no alarms, no cameras. Like, what is going on? They're just walking out. I like that is terrible. That was awful. I think that's like that's downright one of the worst things in writing in this whole series. Like, it was something that was there just to establish that they escaped. It wasn't well thought of. It wasn't well written. Was it was just awful. And then uh, Najma, I believe that's Cameron's mother's name. She is just like, he made his choice, and it just they abandoned him there. And now he's free to join the team, I guess. And whether or not that's going to be in Pakistan or they come back here, I mean, I hope it ends up back where they started, because it would be really really off-putting to not have all of the characters that you've kind of grown to love. At least you have some sort of attachment with. Uh, and then there's, I mean, a big thing of episode 3 was Nakia being pissed off that she didn't tell her, and then Naki's not talking. Like, and to be fair, that's the kind of drama where I'm just like, all right, yeah, don't play it up, but I mean, like, that's all that's mentioned of it. So, I mean, we'll see if episode 5 gets us anywhere near there. I mean, by episodes, like, there's there's just so many. It's a whole new setting, so many new characters, and I get what they're doing. Like, I do enjoy her grandmother, but I mean, there's also, and I love the fact that her mother's there, but there's also a point in time where her grandmother and her mother are talking, and talking about her grandmother coming to live with them in America, and it's like, and you were the one who was so desperate to get away, and it's just like, I didn't want to get away. I just needed to change. Like, all the neighbors were talking about you and your crazy theories. And, that was one thing where I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, how is this crazy? You are talking about the Marvel Universe. Like, this is not our universe. This is the Marvel Universe. You literally had half the population blink out for 5 years. You know, gods exist. You know, superheroes exist. The whole, like, I get what they were trying to do with that, but unfortunately it didn't work, since we're not in our universe. In the Marvel universe, a conversation like that should not have happened. Like, it makes no sense. Zero sense whatsoever. So yeah, and then the whole thing of growing up. She just said she had nothing, and that America was, kind of rough, because they do treat, Muslims very different here. I mean, no one wants to admit it, but yeah, they are treated very different. Um, and I'm aware of it, and for the most part, that there's a lot of nuance to racism between races in this country, which I'm not going to get into here. But yeah, they are treated differently. Um, and then you go there, and it's like this big house with a gate and a stone fence around it, and they're going to a yacht club. Like, why would I wanna go here when I'm living this relatively great life there? I mean, it doesn't get into all the nitty gritty of Pakistan beyond, just the culture. I mean, I know the government there's not ideal and things aren't really, hunky dory in I forget what city it is. It is Karachi. But I mean, at the same time, she doesn't seem to be doing too bad for herself. So I don't know. There was just a lot of inconsistencies there. The whole Jin. I'm just like, it just felt so detached. It just feels like Kamala is not free to be herself. She is just literally traveling in a world that is like going crazy around her, and things just happen to her, and I just feel like she was not given very much of her own agency in the show, and that's kind of where I'm going for, um, which is unfortunate. So that's what I have to say about it. Let's do a breakdown, but first do the rating. I'm gonna say, ooh, I'm debating between a 4 and a 5, to be honest, because again, I love the culture. I I do like her family. I don't really care about her cousins because I mean they're literally brand new at this point. But I mean her grandmother's at least alerted to, and you see her like in a couple of episodes before this. So I mean I don't mind that. I don't like the fact that they've taken a lot of the main cast out for this episode, and I absolutely despise the whole TDC super max prison with no alarms and no cameras. Yeah, sure. But God, and even the stylistic things that I used to like, the whole with the whole hand drawn comics and stuff with the phone. There was only one of those in this episode, and I think I have to give this a 4. Yeah, I mean, all the stuff that I like is just pulled down by all this terrible sappy shit. And again, like this is just my opinion, and I can see how some people would give this a higher one, 5, 6, 7. Um, like I can see that because again, 14, like I can see teenagers liking this. I can see, younger people liking this, but I'm not that person. I'm 38 years old. This is just getting a little too hokey and tropey, and just the whole CW stuff with the romances just here, there, everywhere. 3 and 4 episodes, like it's just a bit much. So unfortunately, yeah, I have to give this one a 4. I wanted to give it a 5, but there's just too much, and then just the lack of the stylization which the series was promoted on. So yeah, that's where I'm at. 4 of 10, unfortunately. Kind of a letdown in this episode. Hopefully they can fix it in the next one. I have not seen that yet. So anyway, let's go with the breakdown. So we're on a plane. We're going to Karachi to go see her grandparents, and or her grandmother, I should say. Um, and there you meet, the cousins, everything. And it does step into a lot of culture. Like she goes to like eat with them, and because she only brought jeans, I guess. Uh, as a, women have strict um, social like expectations. So I'm not sure the full nuance of it, but yeah, because she's wearing jeans, she has to sit outside rather than inside. And yeah, so and then there's well, like the first night she's that like she does talk with her grandmother, who does gives her a lot of motivation, tells her a little bit of backstory, um, about everything, and sort of sets her along this. I'm gonna explore this train station, um, but she wakes up in the morning and she's just like, I don't want to go anywhere. Just like, what? Literally, she dragged her mother there to get there, and that's an expensive flight. That's a long flight. So when I was in the military, going from Fort Carson to Iraq, we had a couple of layovers for a few hours, but we were literally it took us over a day to get there. Like that's insane. So yeah, it's just like we paid good money to be here. You're gonna and you came here to spend time with them and hang out. You're gonna get your ass out of bed and you're gonna hang out. So props to her mother on that. Uh, I mean, she didn't say that verbatim, but I mean, essentially that's the whole thing. Um, so yeah, while she's at the train station, she's attacked by Kareem, which again, the love interest and her powers are. I mean, I don't hate her powers, but I just think they're a bit hokey. I mean, again, she's not my favorite, and like again, Kamal is one of those where it's just like she is us. She's like the new kid on the block. It's just like, whoa, this is Thor, this is Hulk. And I was hoping to get some of that. I didn't get that. And now we're just so far removed from that that I'm just like, I don't know if this show's for me at this point. We'll continue. So the red daggers. So essentially, they protect the Earth from interdimensional beings, which I mean, fall in line. There's a little there's organizations like that all over the world. Uh, so they fight, and then there's like just the flirting and everything. I'm just like, oh, please don't go in this direction. Don't go in. They did. They went in that direction. Um, so anyway, Kamal takes her to the Red Dagger's hideout and meets Waleed, and then that's where you get the whole expedition or exposition dump of what is the Noor, who are the clandestines. You still don't know why they've been exiled. Um, I hope that's explained at some point because, geez, there's so much lack of context to why they went from like these nice people who seem to be somewhat interested in human culture to, just complete assholes who are willing to kill and hurt anyone to try to get back home. So, anyway, and then they hang out and oh my gosh, yeah, the whole scene where she's hanging out with Kareem, with his friends, guitar, fireplace, by the river, by the ocean. One of those two things, and it's just like, oh, you're going this direction. And I forget the dish that she had, but again, I do like the certain cultural asides, to stuff like that. And she's reconnecting with her culture, even though there are there are places like that in America where you can actually get the actual dishes. So I, but that's a nitpick there. I'm not gonna ding it for that. That's just as someone who has been to who is who has known a lot of ethnic people in my life. I know that to be a fact, so it's whatever. But I'm just pointing it out to be nitpick, I guess. I don't know. I'm just disappointed with this episode. Um, so yeah, then we go into the DODC's Department of Damage Control's Supermax prison, which I already explained I absolutely hated. It was ridiculous. It made no sense. And Supermax is a very in quotes thing because that's the shittiest Supermax prison I've ever seen in my entire life. Like that whole scene was just poorly thought of, poorly written, and implemented just horribly. Sadly. So anyway, Kamala begins training with the Red Daggers. That she has another moment with her grandmother, and I mean, you see some of the stylistic things like with brighter and darker colors, and then the thing with the kites. You free, and that's where she goes to back to the Red Daggers, I guess, uh, to learn more about her powers. But I mean, it left out a lot of of stylization. Like that's the only one I can really even think of in this episode, which is unfortunate because the stylization was something that was very very much promoted when they were coming out with it. So I don't know what they're planning on that. And then while she's doing that, the clandestines they find her and they attack, and then there's a chase ensues. So Ali does manage to kill one, and then Najma, gosh, one of these days I'll probably get it right. I'm not sure if that's right or not, but forgive me. I'm literally just reading that as is. So uh, Cameron, his mother. There we go. Cameron's mother. And then he gets fatally stabbed, and they kill him off, and then they escape again. And I'm just like, it's a cool scene, but I just feel so detached from it because again, I just feel like she's just things are happening to her and she has absolutely no agency to do anything about it, and it feels forced. But yeah, anyway, they fend off using her powers again, and Kareem manages to kill another one of them, which pisses Cameron's mother off, and she goes to stab her. For some weird reason, she doesn't use any sort of block. She allows it to hit her bracelet. I don't know why. That's very poor writing, in my opinion. And it sends her into the past where she's on a train. This is that partition, I believe it's 1948 or it's 47, 48, or 49 because I know that that's sort of when partition was going to take place, and that had to happen before the British granted them independence, and then they just left it a big bloody mess. Or is it? No, 1942. Okay, so My mistake. So it's World War II. I'm not exactly sure where that happened. I guess they were talking about the partition, so a lot of Muslims that were in the interior of India were starting to come up to where Pakistan now is. Um, but partition if, hadn't happened yet because it didn't happen until after the British left. So anyway, that's me being a history nut. But yeah, I was so during the partition. So I guess they were talking about it at that time, and I believe it was 1947 where they actually partitioned it, and then the British left after the war because it was just too expensive for them to maintain any sort of empire, let alone in a place as populated and crazy as India. Um, but yeah, yeah, four. I'm still going with a 4 of 10, like all this, just because there's less of the stuff I liked in this episode, and it continued a lot of problems which I didn't like about this episode, which didn't make the episode bad per se, but just wasn't for me. And so I hope they can course correct in the next two episodes, or we're gonna have a problem. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you thought as well, and I hope you all have a good one. So I will catch you guys next time. See ya.